So everyone, I'm John. I was education and just health education on the side, volunteer in Mozambique. My story's gonna be a little bit different than the ones you've heard so far, but it's a little bit about, I guess, why I joined the Peace Corps and then how I ended up here. So I guess like a lot of people, you join the Peace Corps and you normally have some sort of goal beyond just like being a good person. And so for me, I knew I wanted to go into like global health, global medicine, and I'd taken some classes, I'd done some work, but I just felt like I didn't really truly understand like the subjective human experience of like having to deal with these different health systems. And so I went to Peace Corps Mozambique and was just teaching there, doing some higher education, and there's one particular weekend where a bunch of us had gone grants to start community libraries, and so like we're really stoked, like yeah, we're gonna bring books, it's gonna be great, we're gonna go to this conference, we're gonna see everybody. And in Peace Corps, it's, not a lot of people touched on this, but a lot of times you're very spread out. As in, most of my friends were like 300, 400, 500, 600 miles away. And so it was a really exciting weekend, and we all met in this little mountain town called Rincon-Hekking. And we had a great night, kind of what you expect when opportunities to see friends are scarce and beer is cheap. And then we wake up the next morning, and I look up, and I didn't notice we got to town late, but there's these just beautiful mountains, kind of like glistening in fog. And I was just like, did what any good Boy Scout would do, and got some preparations together, and I was like, guys, gotta go to the top. And so we kind of ignored TLC's advice, and we went chasing waterfalls. Everyone says the waterfalls were valid, like, the shit. So, I mean, the hike was much like most hikes. We're at the bottom, and we wanted to get to the top. And it wasn't super eventful, a couple of scrambles, hikes, we got to the top. All my friends were kind of got at the edge, just like looking over. It was a gorgeous view. I just ran up a little bit higher because Peace Corps, a lot of times it's like, this can be a lonely experience at times, but you're like very rarely alone. Even when you're kind of just by yourself in your house, there's always neighbors knocking on your door, just seeing how you're doing, or asking for rice, or there's the neighbor kids are running around, clapping their hands, singing, "Johnny is a white man, Johnny is a white man." Or if there's electricity, people have similar boom boxes to what they have in Nicaragua. It's just like this trance type music just blasting out there. So it was a unique experience, and I just remember going out there and just kind of looking out and just being like, wow, like those moments where you're like very happy to be alive. There's no societal problems, no personal doubts. And just like, this is a beautiful place, like I'm lucky to be here. But like all moments, I had to come to an end. And I went to push up and stand off, or just like kind of push off the ground and stand up. And I realized it wasn't going up, it was actually started going down. And it turned out when I went to this waterfall, which was barely a waterfall, the cross section was like this. It's like slipping on an Nalgene bottle. But I had completely lost traction. And so I'm just kind of like slowly going to the edge of this waterfall, and I'm like scrambling, and I just couldn't stop. Just like, very painful, it was like slowly, like 1 mile per hour. I didn't even think to say anything initially because it was so slow. And then I remember I was about 10 feet from the edge, and so my friends would be like, "John, stop, John, slow down." And one of the last things I remember thinking before going over, I'm very happy that I made it through this, but otherwise I'd be an ass. But it was like, well, that's a great idea, why didn't I think about that? And then kind of just lost consciousness and fell about 60 feet. So luckily I was with my friends, and Peace Corps became pretty resourceful. They instantly broke up into groups, and most of the group went down, and then my friend and I ran down to me. I remember this, I was fairly conscious though, and he saw me bleeding and like ripped off his shirt and grabbed my head and was just like talking to me to keep me awake. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen Remember the Titans. Do you guys know who Sunshine is? Oh yeah. Yeah, the California Dreamboat. So mine was like him, but like more ripped. And so I imagine that just him ripping off his shirt would have like given me a little live. So Demai does this, and then they run into town, and they somehow get, in like no time, get a bunch of villagers together, and they build a stretcher out of bamboo and a foam pad. And they carry up this goat trail to me, and they throw me on it, and they're carrying me back down. And they're trying to talk to me and make sure that I'm like not dead. And I guess one of the questions they asked was like, "So John, like, you've been in Mozambique for a while now, it's a beautiful country, like what's your favorite experience so far?" And I guess like I got really serious for a second, and I was just like, I'll think about that. And I was like, probably this one. So at least the sarcasm was there on both sides of the fall. Then they threw me into a plane. This is where like my memory actually starts again. This isn't secondhand anymore. I kind of just like wake up like in the sky, like seeing clouds go by and like vomiting blood and very confused. And then we touched down in this Mozambique hospital, and I remember that they like really wanted to get me out of the plane and take me to the doctor, and I was like, no, I really need to pee. And they're just like, John, no, like just pee yourself. Like we have to go eat. I'm like, no, like, I need to pee. I'm not gonna pee myself. It's like one of those weird things where there's so much serious issues in your life, but you just want to hold on to like what it is that you feel like makes you a person. So they pick the water bottle, I pee, take me in, cutting out my head and like stitching things up, all that fun stuff. And then they, for a while they didn't know what to do with me. They just kind of like they took the one rolling bed and they rolled me into a room. And then the nurse would come by and like pat my head and be like, this isn't good. And then just kind of walk away. And then someone's like, we should probably take some x-rays. And so the doctors come by, it's like 3 old men, and they're by this point they must have reallocated the rolling bed. So they're just picking me up on a sheet, carrying around with a skull fracture. And they're all like 60. So I knew something bad was gonna happen. And it was kind of like, I don't know, like 3 Stooges like slapstick comedy, like there's like, and all of a sudden like someone's hand slips, so I'm like jumping out, catching stuff. And they go and they take the x-rays and they take me back, and I'm like, okay, so what the x-rays show? They're like, we don't really know how to use the machine that well, so like we think you might have a broken leg, or you might not have a broken leg, and your skull's definitely broken because we can see into it, but like, it didn't help us at all. Sorry about the drop. So then like 2 days later, it's like called like my angels from South Africa showed up, and this is when the experience was very different than any Mozambique would ever have, but Peace Corps has like, if something really bad happens to you, like they make things move. And so they got like a special plane to fly to South Africa to pick me up. And a couple doctors step out, and I could tell like the way they carry themselves, like they just knew what they were doing. Like they could probably use an x-ray machine. And they put me in this big inflatable like plastic cocoon, and it just kind of like wraps around you like a taco. Like I finally realized my life goal of like knowing what the inside of a burrito would be like. In this shell, and you don't know what it's made of, but you know it's probably gonna end badly. They put me into the plane, and I guess at that point it was like the first moment when I was really afraid. It knows sounds kind of crazy, but for me, I guess the way I justify it in my head, I see it is there's a difference between like terror and like fear. It's like terror for me is like when you're watching Saw and something scary happens, or you're going to grab the detergent and little brother jumps out of the dryer and yells, ah! It's like you really have no control over it, and it's like it just happens. Whereas fear, I feel like is more like you're sitting on a park bench in Brazil and someone points a gun at you and says, give me your wallet. And you're like, you know there's different possibilities, like this could go well, I could just give my wallet and walk away, or like he could shoot me. And I felt like until that point I just didn't have any control on the agency, like any hope. It made me really realize what a lot of people go through in Mozambique, because like I was very lucky to have gotten uniformed to like this regional hospital where they didn't know to use the x-ray. It was still the best one within 500 miles. And it just like made me really deeply appreciate the struggle. And like you see a lot of people get sick in your community and someone dies or someone's really sick, and everyone's just kind of like, ah. Like they're sad, but they just kind of accept it. And I didn't realize it until this experience where it's, a lot of people like chalk it up to like the commonality of death. Like this is true, it is much more common, but I think a lot of it is like you have so much less power, and like you go to the doctor in the US and you really hope that they can make things better, and you like, there's different ways that this can come out. Whereas you go in Mozambique, sometimes it's just like rolling the dice. So that's one of the really big things that brought me here. And I guess, yeah, I got on the plane, flew to South Africa, and while I was there, I kind of scribbled down some of my thoughts in the ICU while I was heavily medicated and on like the verge of death. But I feel like the best line that really kind of brought together this idea about fear for me when I was going through my little journal was, that's something that was kind of like, I wasn't afraid when I fell over the cliff and smashed into the earth. I wasn't afraid when I woke up in a flying room and was vomiting blood. I wasn't afraid when I talked to my dad for what I thought was the last time. But I had no hope then. Like I was dead then, and I'm alive now. So yeah, now I'm here. Thanks.